Okay. Let me ask you finally, on Friday night, President Trump removed, as you know, 18 independent inspectors general. Just for folks so they know what that means, these are watchdogs in key departments, from defense to the State Department, Veterans Affairs. What do you say to those who believe that President Trump is going to replace these watchdogs with loyalists?
You know, I'm not overly worried about that.
But very quickly, the law says he's supposed to give you 30 days notice. He didn't do that. Do you think he violated the law?
Well, technically, yeah, but he has the authority to do it.
MAGA Senator Lindsey Graham admits Trump, quote unquote, technically broke the law by not giving Congress a 30-day notice before firing all of the theretofore inspector generals on the night of Friday, January 24th, 2025, at the end of the Blitzkrieg that was Trump's first week of his second presidential term. But what does technically even mean when the law was designed specifically to prevent abuses of power like this? Laws aren't technicalities, they're guardrails to stop the very corruption that undermines democracy. But before we dive in, if you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, don't forget to click the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. Your support means a lot, and it also helps promote these progressive messages to the YouTube algorithm, which helps its amplification to reach even more viewers. The Republican senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, was on the show Meet the Press this past weekend and was asked whether he thought that Trump broke the law when he purged all of the independent watchdogs in the government, and became visibly uncomfortable with saying the obvious truth that the president did technically break the law. Graham was one of the biggest toadies for Trump in his first presidential term, so it's safe to say we can expect the same in his second term. Graham first responds to this question by saying that it's not the first time a president has fired these independent watchdogs in favor of their own loyalists.
You know, I'm not overly worried about that. It's not the first time people have come in and put their team in place. When you win an election, you need people in your administration that reflect your views. So I'm not really worried about that.
Which belies the matter to imply there have been many times where this has happened in history, instead of the more accurate truth that has happened only exactly once before. He then continues by prevaricating with other issues he believes are more important than this particular abuse of power. But to be clear, the only previous instance of a former president purging the independent watchdogs was who else but former Republican President Ronald Reagan. This is precisely the second time this has ever happened since the law's passage in the 1970s, yet Graham focused instead on other issues and anything to change the subject and turn the spotlight away from Trump's abuse of power. The bill that was passed is named the Inspector General Act of 1978, and it was born out of one of the darkest moments in American political history, Watergate. Historical precedent or not, which Republicans only use when it is expedient for them, as Roe v. Wade was overturned by defying the principle underscoring the importance of historical precedents, called stare decisis, but that can wait for another video. Richard Nixon's abuse of federal agencies to target his enemies shook public trust in government. Reagan's actions also destabilized the nation, and so did Trump last week. This same Republican Party who once condemned these actions by forcing former President Nixon to resign are now unsurprisingly silent in their craven refusal to voice any dissent for President Trump, as if they are the Chinese Communist Party and Trump is President Xi of China, who has imprisoned or killed over 1,500 political dissenters in China for speaking out against the leader. Weeding out dissenters and independent watchdogs from his government makes him and Republicans eerily similar to the Chinese Communist Party of today. Trump's nominee for FBI Director, Kash Patel, has openly professed an enemies list composed of American citizens who are critical of the current sitting president. Trump's nominee for the highest position in the intelligence community, Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is widely regarded to be a sympathizer, if not an agent, of America's Russian adversary. Trump campaigned as a populist who would shake up the system to help the American people, but it looks like he's only shaking it up by breaking laws to benefit himself, like a true tyrant would, to suppress his political enemies. But this is not surprising. Trump's record of abusing power and breaking the law has a long history while he has served as president. For instance, in the summer of 2019, Trump withheld military aid using the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, to extort Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky into helping Trump suppress his political opposition. Then presidential candidate Joe Biden, which got himself impeached for the first time. Now we are here. Donald Trump, who campaigned on draining the swamp, orchestrated a late-night massacre of inspectors general without warning, without cause, and in direct violation of the law. That's not draining the swamp. That's filling it to the brim. And the members of the MAGA Republican Party party like Senator Lindsey Graham here, he agrees that Trump broke the law technically, but also says that he had the authority to do so, a response that sounds straight out of an Orwell novel. The President of the United States, the most powerful person in the world, has the authority to break the law? The party of law and order is once again bending over backwards to excuse criminal behavior, but only when it's their guy. They can't stop talking about accountability when it comes to everyday Americans, but when Trump flagrantly breaks the law, it's just a technicality. Trump's toadies in Congress endlessly pursue Trump's political opponents and their families for their own abusive and corrupt aggrandizement of power, like their promotion of the Russian election interference that is known as Hunter Biden's laptop, and their relentless investigation into the unethical behavior of the son of the former President Biden. But when Trump actually breaks the law, particularly one designed to help protect against fraud and the abuse of power, engendered by Nixon's Watergate scandal, only crickets are heard from MAGA. Where's the outrage? Where's the accountability? Where are the cries of abuse of power or executive overreach they hurled at Democrats for far less? This isn't just hypocrisy. It's a betrayal of their own supposed principles. A betrayal of every American who believes in fair, honest government. Nixon's abuses gave us laws like the Inspector General Act. Trump's abuses and the GOP's enabling are showing us just how fragile those laws are without real accountability. This isn't just about Trump. It's about the future of checks and balances in America. And if Lindsey Graham and his MAGA colleagues think it's okay to shrug off illegal acts with technicalities, then they've abandoned any claim to integrity, and dishonor befalls them, their families, and their followers. The question isn't whether Trump broke the law. He did. The real question is whether this country still has the courage to stand up for the rule of law, or if we're content to let it die in the shadows of Friday night purges. It has never been more important to speak truth to power after Trump's first week blitzkrieg of executive actions attempting to usurp the system of checks and balances that is our current form of government that has been standing for nearly 250 years. So stay focused, don't lose faith in the current Constitution, and stay vigilant, fellow freedom fighters.